think is going to be the thing that brings people to the love story? Do you think they're more likely to be searching articles, or do you think it's going to be journaling? Because if it's going to be one or the other, then we could start with two campaigns that each have a flowchart. So begin journaling here is super important, but I know like some of my articles are really long. Some of them have pictures. And I think that you may want to have begin journaling. It could be at the bottom, but it could also be at the top. And it could be over here so it's not distracting. But I think that something that would be really important, because you have all this information and people might not necessarily know where to start. In my case, I asked you and you were like, read the producer's playbook, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then it just kind of like, it really clicked from there because you have it set up really well.
I am optimizing the business plan by optimizing the 7 acts, streamlining it. The vision is that we have a program service for each act. So act 1, it'll be signing up as a journal artist, host, and facilitating your own Mirror Darkly groups in your own local neighborhoods. Act 2 is compassion, so it's about interviewing an artist, again, within your network or pitching to someone you aspire to. Act 3 is grace, so that one is producing your own artist-inspired journaling session in your own creative space, so like gathering a group of 5 to 50 people and facilitating a live journaling session with your group. And every act of service serves to reveal the action of that particular virtue. Faith, compassion, grace. Faith is like faith in pursuing your passion, compassion and understanding your design. When you're obviously interviewing an artist that speaks to you. Act 3, grace, is about forgiveness and about divine justice through focusing and acting on the silver lining, basically turning the other cheek, meaning pivoting your direction towards something meaningful, loving, kind, foregoing the opportunity to play tit for tat, eye for an eye. So like just basically focusing on helping other people. Propose that we start with a new market, getting these diaries into the hands of high school students.
Finance-wise, if we could allocate some of the money to, I know like the journals we've got, and then any of the other kind of like physical resources we have of being able to distribute those for free. I know we've talked about that in the past.
Yeah. I feel Minji and I were talking about like, we just got to get people back in before we grow any further.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And we have to be able to pay for the things in order to market it, you know, and not market it, like she said, for promotion. It's marketing it so that people know we exist.
Yeah. We, I know she and I had talked about maybe like what are some low cost marketing things to do besides Google AdWords. I know what I've seen around like coffee shops and stuff are like those little QR code stickers that you can just stick everywhere, or like a bookmark or something. Like if we had the allocation of funds to get those made and just kind of leave them around places.
Yeah.
Just, something that's eye-catching enough to where they're like, hey, let's look at this. And, QR codes are real simple. Just scan and it takes you to the thing. So if we wanted to, marketing-wise, if that was a small facet to also kind of invest in.
For you to schedule an appointment at your convenience.
Okay, gotcha.
And this faith of the organization. Like, we have the resources, but it's up to them to actually show up and create that space with their community.
Right, of course, yeah. Okay.
How do we find the founders, and how do we encourage founders to create this creative space? Mm-hmm. How do we encourage founders to create the creative space?
I guess if they already have any similar programs in place, and if they do, then great, there's a blueprint. And if they don't, we've got something new and exciting for you.
Okay. What were some personal growths that you've experienced through writing The Divine Comedy?
So yeah, writing that, it took a little bit longer than I wanted, but I think it was much better in the long run, just having it sit, seeing which pieces had matured a bit, which ones I could adjust, which ones could be removed, and then just also helping with organization of the whole book itself. In terms of growth, a lot of the stuff that I had written, because it had sat so long, I felt a lot differently about it. And then, you know, those situations that had created those kind of works didn't feel as volatile, and I could really, you know, see like how much time had passed since that. So it felt like, you know, a completely different part of me rather than it being as triggering as it had been in the past. And there were some other things I could add on to it. So I think giving it a little bit of time was just a neat process to see of, you know, where I was then versus, you know, where I am now.
Okay.
Of the experience. Like, we want to honor their feelings and their truth. So that comes from the first person journaling.
Yeah.
But as they continue progressing in the acts, it is becoming more of storytelling. Mm-hmm. I noticed going through trauma, they're not going to be able to storytell effectively until they first resolve the shadow. And the shadow needs to be heard, and then it needs to be raw. It needs to be in its purest, angriest, bitterest state to be. And then after that, it
needs to be unfiltered.
Yeah, thank you. It needs to be unfiltered, of course, protected in fiction.
Right, of course.
And then as we start moving along the acts, they can start refining the story and telling it in third person perspective. And that will help them with grace, because then they're going to be able to now just tell it like what happened, who said what, then what happened, which is actually the backbone of storytelling. It's just what happened, who said what, then what happened, right? More objective than subjective.
Yeah. Put it down this way of like, if I knew how to make a website and was given full creative reign, what it would look like.
Yes.
So I did kind of break down some ideas for like tabs and what gets housed under each of those tabs.
Intentionally not reactive with it, really trying to figure out, okay, what can we pull from this? What can we learn from this? How can we begin to put this into practice, the things we've, you know, recognized, and also just having grace with yourself. And the patience part is also the hardest of, you know, this is a process, and this is, you know, not necessarily going to take, you know, a short amount of time, depending on, you know, what it is. So really, you know, patience with the hurt, and then patience with yourself, I think, will be the biggest challenge. And then also just in terms of understanding what it's all about.